Hello and welcome to Odds on Bundesliga match day 13 after 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐶𝐴. We have to ask Ronan Murphy, did you enjoy Borussia Dortmund Bayern Munich watching it live, Ronan?
I did. The yellow wall is always a fantastic experience, and it was really increased by the fact they were playing Bayern Munich. I think the Bayern fans were warned maybe 8 times for letting off pyrotechnics during the match. But they didn't stop, and the yellow wall didn't stop either. And looking at the result, I think it was the perfect result for both teams because Dortmund are still unbeaten at home, and Bayern Munich, they're still top of the table. So it worked out well for everybody. I think everybody was a bit happy. Maybe not the nature of the Bayern equaliser, but everyone wasn't too annoyed at the end of the match. So that's exactly what you want going as a neutral.
Yeah, I was asking you actually who was happier after the game, but you just explained that both were kind of happy to keep their streak. So let's analyze what is coming up in this match day with you, with Ronan Murphy, and of course with you guys. Leave your comments, press the like. Let's go on now with the show. And let's start with the game we have on Friday. Stuttgart Union Berlin. The match day wasn't as expected for both teams. Stuttgart, a draw against Werder Bremen, but they were coming from a heavy defeat that we didn't see it coming in the Champions League in Belgrade against Red Star. I guess they are suffering without Undaf. It's only 1 win in the last 6 games. For Union Berlin, it's only 2 points in the last 5 games. They lost to Leverkusen, and we know how they suffer when they play away from the capital.
Yeah, I think Stuttgart are going through one of them phases, and we spoke about the injuries they had, and more injuries seem to build up ahead of last weekend's game. And we had a commenter on YouTube kind of ask, was I as confident in Stuttgart anymore going into the weekend? So I said, maybe not because of all the injuries, but a draw was still likely, and that's what happened for them in the end. So as the week always develops, the odds change and the predictions change a little. But yeah, I think Stuttgart should be we should be happy they were able to pick up a point on the road last week, and it should give them confidence going into this match. Like we know, Union Berlin are not a team for playing high-scoring matches, but 𝗵𝗏𝗏 kind of seemed to step up last week. He scored 2 goals with Undaf missing. So if he can continue that streak, Stuttgart have a chance in every game. So yeah, he needs to be the man to provide the goals, but you wouldn't be that confident every week of him scoring, so he's not really a choice for an anytime goal scorer. But yeah, this one, I don't think it's going to be a massively high score because that's what the Union Berlin do, and the last 5 meetings between these teams have all been wins to 0. So both teams to score yes isn't really a great one for this. It's only happened in 36% of Union Berlin's games this season, and last week's game actually for them stopped the run of 4 games in a row with both teams to score no. So yeah, Union Berlin are usually a team who keeps the score low. Last season that was the case too. It was both matches where both teams to score no. Stuttgart won 3-0 away and 2-0 at home, as well as in the cup where they won 1-0 at home. So yeah, both teams to score no looks a good option for this one. That's 2 exactly at the moment anyway. And if you could tie that in, if you're confident Stuttgart winning, which I think they will. I think they're at home. They should be favoured when they're at home. And like I said, they won 3-0 and 1-0 at home against Union Berlin last season, so they should be able to do it again. I'm not going to predict them to score 6 or anything, but yeah, I think it could be a narrow win to 0. So Stuttgart to win to 0 is another one worth looking at. That's 3 here, but I just like the look of a Stuttgart win here, 1.79, because Union Berlin, they're not scoring lots of goals. They're averaging 0.8 goals scored per game this season, and that wasn't even that much boosted by the 2-1 against Leverkusen last week. So I'm not confident on Union Berlin getting too many goals, and I'm slightly more confident in Stuttgart getting goals. So I'm going for a Stuttgart win here.
Suffering a little bit, Stuttgart playing in the Champions League, and as is happening with Bologna, with Girona, even with Aston Villa, with Brest, all these kind of small teams when they are playing in both competitions, They also suffer domestically. Let's see if they are able to beat Union Berlin. Games on Saturday, Leverkusen, St. Pauli. You were also witnessing the first home win for St. Pauli in Hamburg, 3-1 against Kiel. I guess happy days for St. Pauli, outside finally of the bottom three, and also Leverkusen work in progress. It's not easy to win in Berlin. It's 3 consecutive wins, also following the Champions League one. 5-0 against Salzburg. I guess be careful with these kind of games for Leverkusen, Ronan, because we saw them this season dropping points against Bochum or Kiel, games that we expected them to win.
Yeah, but this again is a game that you would expect them to win, because I haven't watched St. Pauli last week and even spoken to people. I was lucky enough to talk to the club president and people on the management board, and they weren't even very confident before the match against Kiel. They were hoping they would see their first home goal of the season, never mind the first home win. So yeah, Kiel missed a penalty, and if that had gone in, the match could have ended differently, but Pauli won 3-1 and they were delighted. The fans were delighted. It was a great night in the city of Hamburg, so it's great to be there and see the first home win of the season, but I don't think they're going to make 2 wins in a row this weekend. Yeah, on the road, they haven't been fantastic, and Leverkusen, they've been scoring plenty of goals in recent games, like you said. They've scored 5 against Salzburg, 5 against Heidenheim. They've scored 3 against 𝐬𝐵𝗲𝗍𝗏 in the cup, and having watched St. Pauli up close, St. Pauli are on the level of these teams. They look like a kind of a top of the second division team rather than a Bundesliga team so far this season, even when they are winning. So it's going to be a difficult match for St. Pauli. Leverkusen are scoring plenty of goals, averaging 2.3 goals per game. Patrick Schick is among the goal scorers. We correctly predicted that last week, and he now has 48 goals in 100 Bundesliga matches, and that's the exact same record that Ulf Kirsten had for Bayer Leverkusen, and he's a Bayer Leverkusen legend, and Patrick Schick is a Bayer Leverkusen afterthought, you might as well say, but he has been doing enough in the last few weeks since Boniface has got injured to be getting among the goals. He can be relied on at the moment. I think Bayer Leverkusen should be looking to score lots of goals here. They have been averaging 2.3 goals a game, so over 2.5 goals just for Bayer Leverkusen is 2.10. Could be a good option because St. Pauli are a team where they can kind of pad those stats. To win big, you'd have to look at Asian handicap minus 1.75 to get decent value, which I don't think is an outrageous prediction. You could easily see them winning by 2 or more goals, so that's 192. But I do like the look of Leverkusen just scoring. So Leverkusen to score in both halves looks a decent one, 1.87.
Well, if it's not easy to find value in Leverkusen, in Munich even less, 1.1 Bayern Munich to beat Heidenheim, a team that is suffering a lot. Now they dropped into the bottom 3. It's been a while talking that this team is suffering, also starting the season very early to qualify for the conference, defeat at home 4-0 against Eintracht Frankfurt, so 4 consecutive defeats in all competition, and it's only 1 point. In the last 7 games, is not the best stats to visit the Allianz Arena. You mentioned that Bayern were happy with the draw against Dortmund. Was a hard week for them, but beating PSG, a draw in Dortmund, it's been a positive reaction since the defeat in Barcelona.
It has, yeah. They've looked a totally different team. It's kind of spurred them on a bit since that defeat in Barcelona, and they were kind of free scoring in many games. PSG, obviously, we knew it was going to be a difficult game, but you easily could have seen them score a lot more goals. They kind of dominated PSG for large periods of that match. You were kind of waiting for more goals. It just didn't come. And then it was somewhat similar at Dortmund. You were just waiting for Bayern Munich to score an equaliser. And I think Bayern were maybe suffered a lot because Harry Kane went off injured so early. And I think maybe Vincent Kompany made the wrong decision bringing on Thomas Muller when he had the likes of 𝐿𝐴 Coman or Michael 𝐜𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐿 on the bench. And he could have played Matthias Tell through the middle instead, but he put Thomas Muller on, and there was a few chances that Dortmund got in behind the Bayern defence, or 𝐿𝐴 played a clever ball through the defence, but you would have imagined that Harry Kane would have got on the end of it. But Thomas Muller, he was never the quickest player, but he's even less quick now, so his reaction speed isn't as good, never mind his actual speed. So yeah, I think Bayern Munich probably would have won that match, would have equalised earlier had Kane still been been fit and playing on the pitch. But yeah, Vincent Kompany, he probably learned from this because he would have seen Coman come on and kind of create chances immediately for Bayern Munich. So the equaliser eventually came through 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐴 Musiala, and he's now scored in every single away game he's played in the Bundesliga this season. So 6 games in a row that he's featured in, he's scored away. He just missed one through injury, but he hasn't scored at home in the Bundesliga yet this season. He's only scored in the Champions League against Benfica. So with Kane out, he will be expected to do it more and maybe get a first home goal in the league this season. So he looks a good bet for an anytime goal scorer, 2.25. And I think that's where some of the value will be, depending on the lineup. At the moment, Leroy Sané and Michael Olise are both 2.30 to be anytime goal scorers. There should be loads of goals for Bayern Munich, as we expect. But if 𝗿𝐭𝐴𝐴 Coman starts, and if he could play the way like he did against Dortmund when he came off the bench, he looked sharp. He looked kind of on his game, and he looked like a player who could score. So 280 looks really good for 𝗿𝐭𝐴𝐴 Coman to score if he does start. Obviously, it's worth looking at the lineup before you make any of those sort of bets. But the last 3 games between these two sides have all had 5 or more total goals. So 4-2 in Munich last season in this match. So yeah, with Bayern scoring so many goals, Heidenheim being poor at the back, Bayern averaging 3.1 goals per game. Total goals in this one over 3.75 is probably where there's value in the goals market or any of the non-player markets.
24 goals conceded for Heidenheim, usually high-scoring games, and it's going to be very difficult for them to go to Munich. Another big favorite playing at home, Eintracht Frankfurt, Augsburg, doing a great season. Frankfurt, second in the standings, smashed Heidenheim in the last match day. Your bet back in Marmoush to score was correct. A brace for him. So it's 7 consecutive wins for Frankfurt, also doing great. In the Europa League, and Augsburg also, as expected, beat Bochum, only 1-0 to put some distance with the bottom 3. And we have to keep in consideration that they are very poor when they play away from home, only 1 point in this season.
Yeah, they'd be 17th on the road. They've only scored 2 goals in away fixtures this season. So yeah, Augsburg have been very poor this season, whereas Frankfurt have been good everywhere this season. They're on a great run at the moment, 9 games unbeaten, and that's 7 wins in a row. So you would imagine they're going to make it 8 wins in a row. Like you said, Omar Marmoush, he's the star man for them. He has 13 league goals. Harry Kane will be out for a few weeks. So come Christmas, he's probably going to be the top goal scorer in the Bundesliga. He only needs 1 goal this side of Christmas, or this side of the first half of the season, to equal Frankfurt's best ever kind of first half of the season goal scorer. He needs 14, so I imagine he could have 15 or 16, and he should get another one here. So again, I'm going to tip Omar Marmoush, anytime scorer, 230. I think he just can continue scoring because that's what he's doing at the moment, and he's scoring all types of goals inside and outside the box, free kicks, headers, whatever. He just is what makes Frankfurt tick at the moment, and as long as he can stay fit, they're going to keep winning and keep putting in good performances in the Bundesliga and in Europe. So yeah, Augsburg, they are not good on the road, like you said. No wins. They're not going to get another one here. They're not even going to get another draw here. Frankfurt at home this season have been splendid. 4 wins, 1 draw at home this season. So yeah, Frankfurt to win, 166 looks very good value just for a straight win. So, but I'm going to double down and go Frankfurt Asian handicap -1 for 203 for this.
Well, another big favorite in this case, Frankfurt should win. And here we should have Leipzig as big favorites visiting Kiel, but they are in terrible form. Shocking defeat, 5-1 at home against Wolfsburg after another defeat in the Champions League. So it's 5 defeats and only 1 draw in the last 6 games. What is happening with RB Leipzig? They started in good fashion the season, but they are going down and down.
Yeah, since that Xavi Simon's injury, it seemed to kind of change everything. They lacked the kind of spark that they had earlier in the season. They were even winning matches to 0. They had a run of matches where they had wins to 0 early in the season, but now they look super inconsistent. And Marco Rosa, the head coach, is taking a lot of the blame for that. And many people thought he might be sacked by now, but he's been given at least 1 game to kind of save his career. They came out after the match and or save his Leipzig career at least. They came out after the match, and the sporting director kind of backed him to be in charge for the cup game in midweek. But he didn't kind of make any commitment further than that. So it's worth a look to see how they get on in the cup this week, because we could have a different man in the dugout by the weekend. You couldn't rule it out, or if this next week goes poorly for them. But you imagine a game against Kiel should be where the likes of an RB Leipzig can pick things up and turn things around. So yeah, there's the cup game is against Eintracht Frankfurt, so it's not going to be the easiest match. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on that one. But that aside, RB Leipzig, regardless of who's their manager, should still be winning matches like this, because Holstein Kiel this season are conceding 2.6 goals per game on average. They've had 3 defeats in a row, and the only teams they've beaten this season are Alemannia Aachen in the cup and Heidenheim, who aren't one of the Bundesliga giants. They're a team who are very busy in Europe themselves and struggling to balance that this season. Whereas Leipzig, I think the biggest problem, you ask where the problems are, it's because they're not scoring enough goals. They only have 1.6 goals per game, and a team like Leipzig need to score more goals because they are conceding 1.2 goals per game. So it's not like they're kind of dominating opponents, and they need more from all their players really, but they need more from Openda and 𝗀𝗏𝗏 up front. We know they can do it. So this could be a match where they get those goals back and kind of add to that stats, maybe get some confidence back, because they're desperately needed. And Kiel, they've conceded 2 or more goals in every game except one this season. That was the Heidenheim game that we mentioned already. So Kiel are a team that are very leaky at the back. So RB Leipzig total goals over 2 is a good option too here. That's, make sure if you're obviously betting on that one, if it is exactly 2 goals, that you get the money back off your bookmaker. But I think Leipzig should just be winning this match, and I like the look of an RB Leipzig win at 174. I think this, regardless of what happens in the cup during the week, regardless of who the manager is, RB Leipzig should be beating Holstein Kiel 9 times out of 10.
Let's see if they are able to bounce back right now in a tough position. They are in the 4th spot, and it looks like they are not reacting. Looking for good odds, perhaps we should look at Werder Bremen to win, because they are playing against Bochum, and Werder Bremen to win is 2.36. When you are playing a poor team like Bochum, only 2 points, going directly to Bundesliga 2 with only 10 goals scored this season, I guess, Ronan, you should be aiming to win that game, even if we know that Werder Bremen, they are not as strong as they used to be, but still, I would guess that these odds are good to take.
Yeah, I like the look of them. And obviously, Bremen have lost the last 2 away games on the road. They lost to Gladbach and Frankfurt, but that's Gladbach and Frankfurt. It's not really Bochum. But before that, they had 3 wins in a row, actually, at home, away. Mainz, Hoffenheim and Wolfsburg. So they are a team that is capable of winning on the road. They should bounce back, recreate that away form here, and they haven't. They would be confident looking at Bochum's kind of own status, and in recent years against the teams, Bochum haven't beaten Werder Bremen this decade in the Bundesliga when they played. So yeah, they haven't done anything against Werder Bremen this decade. They're not going to either. They haven't actually won a competitive game in any competition since May 27th. That was the 3-0 playoff comeback against Fortuna Düsseldorf. You remember, but yeah, this season they have been diabolical. They continue to be diabolical. They continue to be diabolical in front of a goal. They're averaging less than a goal a game. Bremen are averaging more than 2 goals a game when they play away matches. So this could be a match where Bremen win comfortably. Not just win, but win comfortably. The correct score, 2-0. I love a correct score. So for Bremen to win 2-0, so correct score 0-2 is 13. Could be an option here. Bremen win, like you said, that's definitely worth looking at. But if you want to play it a bit safer, Bremen Asian handicap minus a quarter is 199. So that's not too bad either.
And the last game on Saturday, late kickoff, is Gladbach Dortmund, with Gladbach winning the last 4 home games. They lost to Freiburg last weekend, and Dortmund probably 2 positive results. As you said, the draw against Bayern Munich playing at home, still no defeats when they are playing at home, and especially also the first away win in Zagreb now. They have to do the same in the Bundesliga and learn how to win away from home.
They do, yeah. They've been obviously splendid at home, like we've said. They had gone on that amazing, incredible winning run at home that's come to an end now. They've obviously drawn with Bayern Munich, but like I said, I don't think they're going to be too disappointed to have drawn with Bayern Munich. Jamie Gittens, the English winger, put in a great performance, scored a great goal. I was speaking to 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗔𝗏, the midfielder, Borussia Dortmund midfielder, after the game, and he was full of praise for him. He says that he's kind of come on, he's progressed so much, not just physically, but on the pitch, and he can be someone that can be counted on to make the difference. And he has 11 goal involvements this season. That's 8 goals and 3 assists, and that's as many as he had in his previous 2 seasons at Borussia Dortmund combined. So when you can get someone like that kind of stepping up, and Borussia Dortmund are always capable of getting young players to step up, they can be a formidable team in the Bundesliga and even in Europe, as we've seen in the past too. So yeah, Borussia Dortmund, they know how to develop players, and hopefully they will keep developing players. And against Gladbach, they usually get wins. They've won 12 of the last 15 meetings between these 2 teams. And the most common result in this one is a 2-1 win for Borussia Dortmund. So I like the look of both teams to score yes in this match. It's 64% for Gladbach this season and 63% for Borussia Dortmund, so nearly 2/3 of the time for both teams. Both teams to score yes is 147. It's not going to give you massive value, so you'll have to look somewhere elsewhere to get value. So goals scored, they're both averaging kind of 1.5 for Gladbach, 1.9 for Borussia Dortmund. So looking at that, this should be a 2-1 win for Borussia Dortmund. And like I said, that's the most common result here. So 9.50 for a 2-1 win to Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund at home, they're first, like we said, but they're 16th away. They've only drawn with Bremen. So they really need to figure out how to win away. And this could be a good place to win away in the Brussels Derby, as they call it. They lost their last 4 away games, but they have scored in them all. They haven't failed to completely turn up on the road. So I think this is the match where they might finally turn up on the road, because like you said, they have kind of seemed to turn a corner. They've had good results, and finally they can start getting good away results, and this should be the place for it. So Dortmund win looks very good at 2.11.
Risky one, trusting Leipzig or Dortmund this weekend away. Well, they have better players, that's for sure, and they need to get back in track. Let's see if they are able to win away. We have 2 games on Sunday, Wolfsburg, Mainz, both in great form, 3 consecutive wins for both sides. Wolfsburg, as we were mentioning before, this shocking win, 1-5 against RB Leipzig. Mainz also in European spots, now 5th, and they are, 5th in the best away table. In Germany, no defeats yet, also playing away, and in the last game they were able to beat Hoffenheim. Both clubs now, Ronan, looking at the European spots, 7th and 8th in the table.
Yeah, they definitely should be. These are 2 teams in great form, but I suppose it has to end somewhere. Yeah, Wolfsburg won the last 3 games, but drew twice before that, and Mainz are 3 wins in a row after a draw. So yeah, this could be a draw if you like the look of a draw. 370, that's one, but it's we have to look for kind of more realistic value perhaps. And 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, we mentioned him on the show last week that he hadn't been scoring at home, that 6 of his goals in the league were away. So he scored twice in the first 24 minutes in the match against Hoffenheim last week, and then he ended that kind of run of just being an away player. So now if he can be a home and an away player, Mainz definitely have a chance of making one of those European spots, like you're saying. But as I said, he has scored 6 away goals this season, so he could score another away goal here. Anytime goal scorer for 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is 340, which looks pretty good for the 5th overall goal scorer in the Bundesliga. I think those are good odds for a player who has shown kind of consistently this season that he can score, especially when he's playing in away games. So this could be one of them. And like I said, two home goals last week were both in the first half an hour. So if you want to even go bigger, him as the first goal scorer is 8. That might be a bit risky for some. So anytime score 340 is probably a bit safer. But yeah, Wolfsburg have won their last 3 games. Mainz have won their last 3 games. So yeah, most common result 1-1, a draw. But I like the look of a Mainz away a bit more than a Wolfsburg away if I'm going to lean one side or the other. So Mainz double chance I'm going to go for as my main tip. 185 because Wolfsburg, they'd only be 14th in the home table. So both teams are fantastic away, but Wolfsburg are probably a bit poorer at home than Mainz. So yeah, Mainz double chance doesn't look bad value at 185.
No defeats away from home for Mainz. 2 teams with the same streak, 3 consecutive wins, Wolfsburg and Mainz. Next game is Hoffenheim Freiburg, and also for them is 1 win in the last 5 Bundesliga games for both teams. But for Hoffenheim, it happened a long time ago, or 2 weeks ago, when they beat RB Leipzig, because the previous weekend they lost to Mainz, still very close to the relegation spots, only 2 points above the bottom 3. And Freiburg, they were able to bounce back after some bad results, beating Gladbach at home 3-1. Again, Ronan, the odds point us to another draw in this game.
They do indeed. Yeah, they do indeed. The most common result is a 1-1, and the most common result in since time is a 1-1. So yeah, a draw could be on the cards here. But Freiburg, I think they were fortunate last week. I had picked Gladbach to win that match or get something from that match, and they just didn't today. If you look at the statistics, the shot count was around the same. The possession was in Gladbach's favour. They had a similar XG. I think it was 1.64 to 1.56 or something, but just ended up that Freiburg were much more clinical in front of goal. So they have been a very inconsistent team. They lost 4-0 to Dortmund, beat Gladbach 3-1. Hoffenheim, same. They're really inconsistent, lost 2-0 to Mainz, beat Leipzig 4-3. So this is a match where it's hard to come down strongly on one team to come out with a certain victory, but Freiburg, they're better away than perhaps Hoffenheim are at home. Hoffenheim are yet to draw at home, so that kind of rules out the going strongly for the draw. Like I said, it's 381 if you do believe it's going to be a draw here. They've yet to draw at home. They're 3 wins, 3 defeats, but Freiburg on the road, they're a bit better. They've won 2 and drawn 1. So I think there could be value at looking in a draw and Freiburg in this one. So Freiburg draw no bet is 205. I think that could be an option for them.
Well, this is it for this match day. So, guys, remember that you can post also your own tips in our tipster competition. Now that we started a new month in December, you have the option to win some cash prizes. And, of course, now with rivals, you can also create your own tipster competitions with your friends and try if you are as good as Ronan in the Bundesliga. So I encourage you, of course, to try our tipster competitions. Ronan, if someone is looking for a safe bet this match day, we have plenty of favorites playing on Saturday. Which one would be the choice?
Yeah, I'm going for Frankfurt Asian handicap -1/4 at 143.
All right. And your ACCA?
My ACCA, I'm going for 3 wins. So I like the look of Stuttgart to win, Frankfurt to win, and Leipzig to win, which all have pretty decent odds. So that gives you a total of 517.
This is very, very high odds. Of course, if you want to be cautious, as we always say, you can go for Asian Handicap 0 if you feel this way, and in case there is a draw, you get your money back. Well, Ronan, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.